Very often happens that someone like just goes nuts and screams and releases a lot in the ceremony, and then the other participants, they are exposed to that and don't know how to handle that, and just being there to help hold the space. And in a way, it's more energetic in how you react. So then you notice people might be like watching you or seeing how you react to gauge if the situation is now normal or not, if it happens in their first ceremony. And then also for the person that is like going in the intense expression of feeling kind of okay to do that now, if they feel they want to do that. So of course the shamans, the facilitators are there and they're supporting with those processes. But when you're the kind of trusted guide to help with the preparation, people will also kind of like secretly, subconsciously check in. Okay, is everything still going how it's supposed to go? Am I still safe? Is everything still in kind of green light? And in that like sense, making sure that that this feeling of safety is continuously provided. I'm observing a lot in the room and what's going on, or sometimes also outside. You might have disturbances or things that are happening. So it's more like also logistically making sure that it's always like safe for people. And then, of course, if someone like goes nuts, to not let them run out or into the forest, but really contain it and remind people of what rules have been set before. If the facilitator sets the rule for, hey, let's all stay together, let's not venture out into different directions. And if you see someone like coming or going out, to then keeping an eye on them and checking on them. So then it's more, I would say, trip sitter role.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, what, if anything, do you capture or take notes on, or like as you're building a bridge into the integration stage, when you're present during an experience? In some ways, you must have your coach hat on, right? Or your mentoring hat, or your facilitator hat. Do you capture anything to take on? Or how does the integration process then work? If you could talk us through that, feel free to maybe bring an example of how that might have happened. I know it might be different every time.
Yeah, so I'm not taking notes or anything. I'm just like basically observing and capturing for myself what's going on. So in the on the next day, or when we go into the integration and sharing process, if people refer to a certain point, that I know like which moment in that time they meant what happened for them. Mm-hmm. But it's not that I'm like sitting there with my notebook and writing down, the person A screamed a lot this name, or for person B it was a lot of like crying. No, but more to have an idea when the group will talk about the ceremony and what happened and what had been going on energetically, to be able to relate to that.
So you might have multiple people that you're working with on an integration journey based on a single experience in a ceremony, in a group?
Yeah, so for the retreats, it's a group container. So people come together for a week. We prepare. There's different other like modalities, more coaching, group coaching setups, but also then different body work activities and different practices that teach them how to self-regulate. And then the ceremony is one part of it, but most things happen in the group, even if there's individual treatment sessions. And then also the integration happens, or the sharing circle happens as a group. So
yeah, so it would be difficult to sit there and really focus in on one person's journey, kind of picking up on but part of me, when I imagine, well, what if it would be like if I were to sit with people, I would probably want to capture that they've mentioned a name, and then many of us will know what it's like.
But I don't write it down. I'll write it. So I'll definitely do that. But it's also not that I give them a report the next day. It's more when when the conversation goes there, then I might like bring it up or ask about it, but only like if it's relevant in that context. But I'm not taking notes or minutes or anything.
Right? Yeah.
I don't even remember what has happened, so maybe then it wasn't really important.
Exactly.
But that's exactly why I've had a number of experiences. I don't remember what it is that it was, but I remember the experience of I've just had this huge insight, and I forgot, and I knew it was huge, and I knew it shifted something, but don't know what it was anymore. And then sometimes I got a bit stuck, like trying to chase what it was that just shifted. And then over the years, I just trust that something shifted and that was meaningful, right? But
that's a difference, like between, like, call it fermentation, that is like a more passive integration than the active integration afterwards. But there are things that just happen in the process, and you don't need to really remember it, how it was and what it did, but it's like on a subconscious level there are changes. You don't need to know it, you don't need to work on it.
I'm just thinking, right, how do I make the most out of this experience and this journey? And then I'm thinking, well, if I sit there with eye shades on and I had this moment, but I know that I'll have these moments, it's likely that this will happen again, because usually that happens for me quite a lot. I could just like say a few words out loud as I'm experiencing it, and the coach might pick that up and bring it back and be curious. At some point you said this and it seemed profound, and I might have completely forgotten about it already, but I might be so thankful to be able to pick up on that. I mean, in a group setting, it's more difficult. But that's why I thought quite a bit of the added value of having the coach sitting with you might lie.
I mean, the risk is that you as the coach then interpret something into it. And as Julia said, they might not even remember it. I also had like settings just with one client where they wanted to like take notes, or they said, hey, can you also take a notebook just in case I say something really important? Can you write it down for me if I can write it down? And I was thinking to myself, I mean, I don't think you're going to take notes, but let me just like say yes, so you feel like safe, and if you want me to do that, we can do that. And then of course, he didn't even one time think of writing into his notebook, and the next day he was even laughing at himself having the intention of bringing it, but that was his process he needed to go through.
I've had some hilarious moments trying to decipher my notes, because I took quite a few. Quite a few. I took on quite a few journeys. I took notes, and I remember that at some point, just the trying to take the note was so difficult. And if I could have just said it, it would have been so much easier, instead of like in the dark trying to figure out the hand coordination and what are letters again. And that was.
Brings you oftentimes back to your head. So I tell them not to do it. Maybe really in the end, if they feel like in the last part, if you feel like writing down something, okay. But in the middle, it's like you bring in your mind again, and that sometimes it also disturbs the process. And I think it's also different with which substance you work. So I think for like ayahuasca, it's very unlikely that you should have your notebook in the ceremony, and oftentimes you wouldn't be able to find it. To write it. So
people who try to take the notes in their phone, like that's also one thing.
Oh my God!
When I say, don't do it, like just don't do it, don't bring it. But one time the person didn't like listen to it, and if you've ever watched like a technical device while you're on a journey, it's not a pleasant experience. So
and it's most likely bound to fail.
Into your head again,
Notes on paper, that did help me. I mean, there's times when clearly there's no point, and clearly that's not going to work. So, and sometimes also, maybe that could have been a distraction, but also at times they were really, really helpful for me to pick up on, because they did take me back to a place that wasn't in my conscious awareness, but it was easily easily to reconnect to when I had like even just one word, or something.
When it comes to that, I always kind of tell people, check in with yourself. Why are you doing that? Are you doing that out of fear or out of love? If if you feel you need to take notes because you want to make the most out of the journey and you're afraid you're losing some insights, then it's coming from a place of fear, then I would challenge it. But if you're like in the ceremony and you just feel that urge to, I need to sit up now and write a few words down, then do that. But then it's not coming from this, I have to or I should. And that's a big difference.